It's 4 o'clock on a Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. This week, starring me and a really good listing. Hello, everybody. Let me get the chat room open. I feel out of practice. I had a week off from doing Taxi TV, and I feel like I need to get back into practice. There's that chat room. Hello, everybody. So, let's see. Where shall I begin? I've got so much ground to cover today. I'm excited. First of all, before I do the exciting stuff, I'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to the folks in Texas. I know you guys are going to be cleaning up for a long, long, long time down there. I've been through 2 hurricanes and a really bad earthquake, and I know that it's easy to watch it on the news and not really understand how bad it is to be on the ground there, and it is really bad. So to all of our members and friends and their family members who are in Texas and now Florida, my thoughts are with you. I know my wife's thoughts are with you. I'm sure that the same is true for all of your fellow members and our staff and everything. You know, just as long as everybody's alive, that's what really matters. You can replace stuff, you know. You can always rebuild. It's a hassle. It ain't fun. I've had to wait for a FEMA check. It takes a while. But I did get it. So with that in mind, I'm trying to scan the chat room as I talk to you guys. What did I want to say? Oh, so let's see, we were out for the holiday last Monday. Then I was sick as a dog all last weekend, through the holiday weekend. But then somehow mustered the energy to get on a plane Wednesday and fly out to the big island of Hawaii and go to Kona for the Hawaii Songwriters Festival. They've been doing it for 15 years. I think I've been to 12 or 13 of them, and they're gracious enough to let me moderate some of the key panels out there. I always enjoy it. The folks who run the Charles Brotman, who's a Taxi member, and his wife Joni, and their daughter Julia, and Charles's sister Jody. I mean, they do an amazing job, and really good industry people, great attendees, great music. And frankly, I really was going to cancel them. I didn't tell them that, but I was going to cancel last minute because I was just sick. Just sick, let's just say, bronchial stuff and just making noises. Wednesday night when I went to bed at the hotel out there, 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I was coughing my brains out. The person in the next room is pounding on the wall, yelling, "Shut up, shut up." So, sorry, buddy, whoever you were in room. Let's see, I was in 5819, so they were in 5820. If you were in room 5820, I'm the coughing guy, and I'm sorry. So if you aren't a subscriber already on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Hit the red button down in the corner. That corner. I can't do this backwards stuff. And please give us a like. Make YouTube like us even more than they already do. So, in a moment, we're going to play the stuff that was forwarded for the listing, and I'll read the listing. But I've got to tell you guys, the joke is everybody thinks, oh, man, the dude got to go to Hawaii. I don't even bring trunks, okay? So for the 12 or 13 times I've been to this event, I do not even bring a pair of swim trunks. Did my toe go in the ocean? No. Did I go in the swimming pool? No. Do I, whenever I travel, sadly, break out your violins. Like even when the Lasco family goes on a vacation, I spend 4 or 5 hours a day in the room working. So just to be funny, this year I sent my wife, the books, every hotel room has a book about local color, like beaches, forests, interesting things to see, restaurants. So I took pictures. Let me get this out of the way. I took pictures. Can you see it? There you go. So that's from a book, and underneath it says, "View from my room." Next one. Everybody knows I love saltwater fishing. There we go. Went fishing this morning. Giant sailfish. Did a little night scuba diving last night. hiked a volcano after lunch. And then this is what I really did. I can't see it very well. I answered emails. So there you go. That was in 1 hour. There are probably, I don't know, 30, 40 emails in there. Um, so I said, this is what I really did. So yes, even though it sounds awesome to be able to go to Hawaii for a conference, it was for everybody but me. Wham, wham, wham. Poor old me. But I did get a lot of work done on the airplane coming home last night. I did. Um, Adriana says I should actually do those things. I should, shouldn't I? You would think. Someday I will. Also, I want to say, I don't know if he's, let's see, Big Island Jack is in the room. I don't know if he is or he's not, but one of your very own from the chat room, Big Island Jack, who was there, Jack Miller, and I went out for the nicest dinner the other night. I think it was Friday night. Jack Miller and I went out to the nice restaurant on the property. It's a very nice hotel. Lovely restaurant, and the two of us went out for a dinner, probably spent 3 hours at dinner and talked about life, love, politics, music, a lot of stuff about music, and just had a great old time together. So Jack, thank you again. I really appreciate the invite and the fact that you treated awesome. Thank you. I really could not. You were a great date and just it's something other than moderating a panel or answering emails in my room. So it was a really nice break from all that, and couldn't have been with a better guy. Really had a wonderful time. And last but not least, before we start listening to music, so sitting in my office about 3 hours ago and hear this sound. It sounds like an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane. And what it was right back there, there's an overhang that runs the entire length of the office building we're in. It's a 2-story building, and there is a 4-foot deep overhang that's got lights in it and some sort of concrete texture stuff sprayed on. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick. Well, apparently, whoever put that overhang in the mid-'80s, didn't screw those sheets of plywood, 4x8 sheets of plywood, of which there are at least a dozen. They just nailed them in with nails that aren't that big. The whole friggin' thing just came down a couple of hours ago, took out the hood of a Mini Cooper down at the end of the line, scratched up a couple of other cars, but so now I'm sitting here the whole time. Every time my ceiling rattles or squeaks, I'm scared the whole thing's going to drop in and kill me. Because that was like, I don't know, probably 1,000 pounds worth of stuff came down out there. A lot of stuff. So it's a little scary. So if you see me doing that a lot during the show, it's because I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to dive under my desk. Okay. Let's see. People are talking about the rally. Yes, don't forget the road rally, Taxi Road Rally. The greatest convention known to mankind. It's going to happen November 2nd through the 5th here in Los Angeles. Every single taxi member gets a free ticket and a free ticket for a guest. And it is awesome. And I'm getting very close to actually putting up a printed out version of what the panels will be. Yeah, it's coming together. It's going to be incredibly awesome. And frankly, I've almost got, if there is such a thing, too many music supervisor and too many music library owners. I've got more of them than I've got places to put them on panels and such. And it's tricky juggling because you don't want to offend anybody. There are people that have been there during your previous years, and they want to come back because they love the rally so much. And, hey, what do I say? It's like I can't have the same 5 people on the music supervisor panel. I can usually bring 1 or 2 of them back, especially if they're spectacularly good panelists. I like to bring them back because they offer a lot to the people in the audience. So I'm going through that little juggling phase right now. And when I was out at the Hawaii Songwriters Festival, a couple of them came up to me and said, "So, you having me back?" And I went, I'll decide about that. All right, so that is all that stuff. So what we're going to do is listen. We ran a listing. This was listing number, taxi listing number U170904SC, as in Sam Charlie. And this went out, I don't know, September 4th was the deadline. I think we only ran this listing for like 3 days, I want to say. It was a quickie. Short turnaround for a national TV commercial. The interesting thing about this is that it's a woman that was co-founder of a very, very reputable, very highly thought of company that gets a ton of cool music into TV commercials. She's got the golden list, and she gets the golden requests. And so she started her own thing a while ago. And although she and I had never met, we have many, many friends in common. We went out to lunch, really hit it off. I feel like I've got a great new friend. And so she said, let me try taxi. She ran this listing with us, and she was really impressed with the music that she got. I just got off the phone with her about a half an hour ago. The ad agency is still deciding. And this was early in the game. Most of the time, advertising music is requested fairly late in the game. Like, they've finished editing the spot and they need music and they need it now. In this case, they were asking for the music before they shot it because they'd already storyboarded it. It probably had animatics, which are kind of like comic books that move like that and show roughly what the commercial is going to be like. So they could still change their minds. It happens a lot. Ad agencies always change their minds a lot. They debate everything, and everything is done by committee. So we will see, but she told me that she was impressed, and the person that she sent the music to was very impressed with the stuff that you guys did and that we sent along. So without any further ado, I'm going to read the listing itself. And it said, sorry, my ears are still screwed up from the flight and from being sick, so I hear myself in my head, and I don't know if I'm speaking too quietly or too loudly. Motown-esque soul instrumentals are urgently needed for an up to $20,000 national TV commercial, and she apologized. She didn't think that was a lot of money for this. By an A-list music licensing company owned by a highly successful industry veteran who specializes in advertising placements. They need lively, up-tempo instrumentals with driving drums, locked-in bass, and a classic Motown rhythm guitar part. Having a great backbeat and a deep pocket/groove are important. Here are some inspiring examples to get you in the ballpark. Reach Out and I'll Be There by the Four Tops, especially the verse sections. Ain't Too Proud to Beg by the Temptations. The drum turnaround intro, this is my note, drum turnaround intro at 14 seconds. Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. The chorus vibe and the spirit. So those little notes were from me. I actually was able to hear something that they had temped in that they liked for the general direction, but I was not allowed to play that music for you folks because if you were the person who had your music temped in and there's a possibility they might use it, you certainly wouldn't want it going out to everybody else. Like, there's the guy you got to knock out of the box. And in this case, it was, there's the direction that we like so far. So I had to listen to that. I knew what the commercial was. I mean, I knew the subject matter. And I had to listen to that track like 10 times, and then I wrote the listing to give you guys really good direction. So hopefully it was as good as I thought it was. So those were the references. Although the references have vocals, this request is for instrumentals only. Please submit original instrumentals are at least 2 minutes long with an emotionally positive feel, a simple but compelling melody, and a beat that feels like it comes from a Motown classic. Sounding a little retro can be a good thing for this, but don't go all the way. Contemporary with some retro influence is likely a better way to go. Maybe slightly ragged around the edges, maybe a little distortion in the right places, and not super slick. This is all about the positive emotional feel, the driving beat, and the familiarity factor that could be appealing to the mature baby boomer demographic this commercial is targeting. Non-faded endings are preferred, but not an absolute must-have. Quoting the ad agency, we're telling a story about a woman who's traveling through a park, and when she does, her personal journey is revealed through titles and graphics. There's a big reveal of the spot. So we need to have a bit of an arc musically. They need to have a bit of an arc that can help us with our reveal. Taxi tip, addressing the arc and reveal, if your chorus section makes listeners feel like it's a great day, I'm glad to be alive and loving every minute of it, and it does that in a subtle, sort of visceral way, that would be awesome. Some might call it an emotional swell. Horn pads with a 4 or 5 piece horn section and a bari sax in the bottom would be a nice touch in the chorus/reveal section. I put that in there because the temp piece that they liked for direction did have a horn section, and there was a lot of baritone sax in the bottom of it. Taxi tip number 2. This is optional, and we're just throwing it out there based on our observations. If your instrumental had a super short intro that's like the drum turnaround that begins the verse section of Ain't Too Proud to Beg at 14 seconds, combined with the overall rhythm section vibe of Reach Out, and the feel-good emotional release of the chorus in Ain't No Mountain High Enough, you could be in the sweet spot for what this ad agency currently likes for this commercial. So that was my own personal, that was the producer and me and the guy who used to mix hundreds, maybe thousands of post-mix TV commercials for big ad agencies on Madison Avenue. That was my take on listening to the music they had, knowing what they described about the spot, that if you took those elements and smushed them all together, you would definitely be in the sweet spot. As is often the case in music for TV commercials, it's not about being the most amazing composer as much as it's about delivering the right feeling. Music isn't the star, but the underlying feeling it creates is. Your submission should be at least 2 minutes long. Do not copy the reference artists or songs in any way, shape, or form. Use them only as a general guide for tempo, tone, texture, and overall vibe. Broadcast quality is needed. This company offers an exclusive publishing deal. The TV spot is estimated to pay up to $20,000. You and the publisher will split the creative fee 50-50. Publisher gets 100% of the publisher's share. You'll get 100% of the writer's share. You need to own or control your master and composition, blah, 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 blah. So the deadline was Monday, September 4th. So we hit all the deadlines. We sent, the screeners picked, oh, you'll want to know this. We had 111 submissions, and of the 111 submissions, 11 things got forwarded. Let's see. So I am ready to go. Are you guys ready? Is there anything I need to know? Anybody saying anything? Nope, it's all you guys talking to each other. That's right. Don't watch me. Talk to each other. Yeah, watch me. All right. So, number 1 on this list, and they're not in any order of preference. These are just how I was given them by Bria. First one is called Hip Bone. It's by Chris Winston, and we're not voting on this. We're not judging them. I'm just playing this for your own edification, that this was the range of stuff that got forwarded, picked by the screeners. Frankly, I forgot to check. I don't even know which. I know which screeners I recommended. I don't know if they ended up on it or not. They probably did. Here we go. This is Hip Bone. Play, baby, play. What is going on? All right. So remember, we're not judging. Um, okay. Let's see. Polly's judging. I'm judging you for judging, Polly. Let's see. I don't know if it had Polly's using the compelling word. I'm not sure compelling was in there. Might have been. We use it a lot because there's no better word. Um, anyway, like we said, not about being the best composer in the world so much as it is about the feel. My own personal observation, because they described the woman out walking. There's a commercial. It's on TV already. I can't remember what it's for, but this is definitely a baby boomer, somebody who's probably in the late 40s to mid 50s, maybe even 60 years old. So, what would be the soundtrack for that person? And that's important. Uh, the familiarity factor, which was in the listing, is important. You want people to feel the music, feel comfortable with the music, but not sit there and go, wow, that's the most awesome piece of music I've ever heard. Because if they're thinking that, they're not paying attention to the actual product, which is being advertised, which in this case, I believe it said it was an insurance thing. Okay, yes. Yep, followed the instructions pretty well. And yes, it will ultimately be a 30, and I do believe that they will do cut downs and probably do a 15. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a 60 for the internet. Don't know, but I think that's a fair assumption. All right, now we are listening to one. Ooh, all right, not in the order. Oh, here it is. Okay. This one's called Running Back to Love. Not in the same order. All right. Running Back to Love. All right, that was Running Back to Love, and that was done by David Banks. It was a nice piece. I'm a little out of order here, so this next one is called Motor City Blues. Do I have this right? I do. Okay. Let's have a listen to Motor City Blues. Oh, and I see Jack's in there. Big Island Jack. Dude, I don't know if you caught me thanking you for dinner, but had a great time the other night. So thank you again. It was just awesome. I loved it, and my wife's a little jealous that we have a thing going on. We'll talk about that later. There's that wonderful day thing. Love this. All right. And that one was called Motor City Blues. That was by Paul Coughlin. I should have mentioned that at the top. Paul, nobody feels sorry for Paul because he lives on the island of Ibiza off the coast of Spain. Aw, poor Paul. He happens to be like remarkably handsome and a really nice guy on top of all that. So actually, glad that he got a forward for that. That was cool. I'm going to read the listing again because we've had like 20 more people join us since I read this out. I'm going to go quickly. Motown-esque soul instrumentals are urgently needed for an up to $20,000 national TV commercial by an A-list music licensing company owned by a highly successful industry veteran who specializes in advertising placements. That was definitely a run-on sentence. They need lively up-tempo instrumentals with driving horns, locked-in bass, and a classic Motown rhythm guitar part. Having a great backbeat and a deep pocket/groove are important. Here's some inspiring examples to get you in the ballpark. Reach Out and I'll Be There by the Four Tops. I made a note, especially the verse sections. Ain't Too Proud to Beg by the Temptations. The drum turnaround 14 seconds in. Great way to come in. Oh, here comes the building maintenance crew looking at the damage from when the outside roof collapsed. Great, now they're doing work out there. Even better. Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell. Although the references have vocals, this request is for instrumentals only. Please submit original instrumentals that are at least 2 minutes long with an emotionally positive feel, a simple but compelling melody, and a beat that feels like it comes from a Motown classic. Sounding a little retro can be a good thing for this, but don't go all the way. Contemporary with some retro influence is likely a better way to go. Maybe slightly ragged around the edges, maybe a little distortion in the right places and not super slick. This is all about the positive emotional feel, the driving beat, and the familiarity factor that could be appealing to the mature baby boomer demographic the commercial is targeting, and we know that for a fact. Non-faded endings are preferred, but not an absolute must-have, which is often the case in advertising. Quoting the ad agency, we're telling a story about a woman who's traveling through a park, and as she does, her personal journey is revealed through titles and graphics. There's a big reveal in the spot, so we need to have a bit of an arc that can help with our reveal. Taxi tip, addressing the arc and reveal, colon. If your chorus section makes listeners feel like it's a great day and I'm glad to be alive and loving every minute of it, and it does that in a subtle, visceral way, that would be awesome. Some might call it an emotional swell. Horn pads with a 4 or 5 piece section and a bari sax on the bottom would be a nice touch on the chorus/reveal section. Taxi tip 2. This is optional, and we're just throwing it out there based on our own observations. If your instrumental had a super short intro, like the drum turnaround that begins the verse section of Ain't Too Proud to Beg at 14 seconds, combined with the overall rhythm section vibe of Reach Out and the feel-good emotional release of the chorus in Ain't No Mountain High Enough, you could be in the sweet spot for what this ad agency currently likes for this commercial. As is often the case for the music and TV commercials, it's not about being the most amazing composer as much as it is about delivering the right feeling. Music isn't the star, but the underlying feeling it creates is. Hang on, I'm going to be right back. I need to tell building maintenance to shut up. I guess I told them a thing or two. Anyway, they're very nice. And they went, sorry, and now they're running out of there. Where the hell was I? Music isn't a star, but the underlying feeling it creates is. Your submission should be about 2 minutes long. Do not copy the reference artists or songs in any way, shape, or form. Use them only as a general guide for tempo, tone, and texture and overall vibe. Broadcast quality is needed, and the rest of it is all nuts and bolts about the deal. So there you go. So far we've listened to Hip Bone by Charles Winston. We've listened to Running Back to Love by David Banks. We listened to Motor City Blues by Paul Coughlin, who lives on the island of Ibiza. I'm going to drop in for a visit someday, Paul. And I'll probably spend 5 hours a day answering emails while I'm there. Now we are going to listen to... this one's called I Feel It by Robert Castillo. Here we go. Or maybe we don't. There we go. Nice guitarist. that was I Feel It by Robert Castillo. That was good, good, good. All right. Let's see. And the next one is by Gary King, and it's called Ain't Takin' No. Let's have a listen. Nice Barry sax. This is me turning it up. All right, that was Ain't Taking No by Gary King. I want to mention to you guys, once again, we had 111 submissions and the screeners picked 11 of them. So just before anybody goes, oh, it's 10%, that's like their normal number. We don't work by percentages. We don't have a quota. If it's good and on target, it gets a forward, okay? Just making that clear. And I want to give you guys some updates that on next week, don't miss next week's show. I'm going to go to Create Music Academy, and Doug Fensky, whose talents I adore, is going to do a mixing show in the studio. They're either going to use the studio that they used to teach with, if we're lucky, because Create Music Academy is at the very, 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 very famous Westlake studio, where Michael Jackson did a ton of his work and a gazillion other just like multi-platinum records have been done. We might get into that control or one of those control rooms to do the show from there. So that is Monday, September 18th, mixing with Doug Fensky. Then on Monday, September 25th, we've got none other than Bobby Borg and Michael Ames coming back. Last time those guys were on the show, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 months ago, they just smoked the place. They're going to talk about everything from management to publishing. Seriously, both those guys are expert on just about every subject under the sun, but they're both incredibly smart, very articulate, and just did an amazing job on the show last time. October 2nd, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. For those of you who were talking about horn sounds before, on Monday, October 9th, I've got Jeff Steinman booked from Warp 4 Technologies. He is literally, I can't tell you how smart this guy is, but like off the charts IQ-wise, and he's like a nuclear physicist or something. Whatever it is something that I'll never be, something I can't even pronounce probably. But he is fanatical about getting great samples on things like horns and woodwinds. And we had him here a year or two ago showing off his horn library they built. I think he might be bringing woodwinds this time. Just astonishingly good samples. And it's not like it's some big commercial company and millions of people have the same sounds. And he will be at the Road Rally, so you can buy his stuff there. And then on Monday, October 16th, I've got Ronan Chris Murphy joining us for a show. Who knows? Ronan is a great engineer, producer, mixer. He always lights his place up when he comes out and does a show with us. Everybody loves Ronan. Everybody. Never met anybody that didn't have anything but really good stuff to say about the dude. Okay, moving on. Going on to number 6 on this list, which is Wake Up, Get Up. And this is by Robin Heloise Benham. Yay. That was Wake Up, Get Up by Robin Heloise Benham. How are we doing on time? We're looking good. Yay. Okay. Moving on. Let's listen to Happy Town by Tommy Hines. Happy Town by Tommy Hines. I like the horn parts in that. They were cool. I think Tommy actually knows what he's doing about writing horn parts. Sounded like it. Okay. Moving on. Next one up is Feeling So Good by Kenny B. Simeon. I think that's how it's pronounced. Simon, Simeone. I'm calling that Simeon. Feeling so good. Where am I? There I am. Here we go. All right. That was Feeling So Good by Kenny B. Simeon, or Simi 1, Simi 2, not sure. Okay, man, show's going to be over early today. Happy Ways. Next one up is called Happy Ways. Happy Ways. Get that back to the top. And this one's done by Robert J. Arkins. Let's have a listen. Those were tightly spaced. That was Happy Ways, Robert J. Arkins. I've got to say, the one before, several people were saying they were rocking out to it and they really loved it. I want to make a comment that's a good example of one where the first half of it is like, not bad, pretty good. And then the back half was like, wow, this is awesome. Don't ever assume. Now, look, we know that they want to build, they want a progression. And it stated that in the listing, but maybe it was not enough good stuff up front. Maybe, I don't know. Just an observation. Sometimes when you think, okay, I'm gonna, really like throw it all at them at the end and just impress the hell out of them, they may not get to the end. Just saying. All right, moving on. This one is called Keep On, Keeping On, and this is by David Scantz. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to one that I should have played sooner, but it's on one list higher up on another list down lower. So I'm going to just take care of it now so I don't miss it. This is called Daylight Strut by Deborah Ferris. Play, baby. No, that's not what I want. Daylight Strut, Deborah Ferris. Cool roads. says Starsky and Hutch. I was just thinking Shaft. All right, that was Daylight Struck by Deborah Ferris. Now we're going to Keep On Keeping On by David Scance. And there you have all 11. Remember, 111 submissions, and the screeners forwarded 11 of those babies. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm just so incredibly proud of our members. The work that you folks do is just, and frankly, having heard the song that is currently, or not the song, the instrumental that they currently have temped in, ours beat it. Now, whether, ultimately it's going to determine, and it's not just us pitching, but I don't think this one went all that wide either. And it could be that they changed total direction. As I said, when they ran the listing, they hadn't even shot it yet. They did have it all laid out. They had it mapped out with storyboards and everything. But they could change the direction of the music once they've shot it and edited it. But man, oh man, the best thing, I mean, it'd be awesome if one of our people lands a spot. The company that ran this listing was very impressed, and they will be back with more listings. Could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. I don't know for sure yet. I did get a call from the principal of the company uh, right before the show went live today, and she asked me if she could have one of her people that she trained, who's got a very credible resume, be the screener on a lot of her stuff. And I said, absolutely, even better. She knows your taste. So this is cool. We'll pick up a new set of highly qualified ears, have a new outlet. I will tell you, she did mention one thing in a conversation we had over lunch a week or so ago, that she doesn't want to have members calling up going, hey, I got something else you should hear. It's not a library, so they're not looking to, like, do you have 10 more like that? Um, and I should mention that also, while I was in Hawaii the other day, that I had a nice meeting, like a 20-minute meeting with somebody that I've known for years, somebody that I've wanted to get listings from forever, and it's just never come together for one reason or another. There's no problem there. It's just hasn't happened. Sometimes things have to fall into place. And I am now feeling like things are going to fall into place. And yet another entity that is an A-list provider of music for commercials recently reached out to me with a bunch of stuff that company is looking for. So it's like all these irons in the fire that I've had going for a while are now bearing fruit finally, and there are going to be some awesome, awesome listings coming up for you guys. So with that, I could bug out. I could call it a day and just say, well, I've done a show in an hour and 6 minutes, but I've got a little extra time. So if you guys have any questions, comments, you want to throw rotten fruit at me, go for it. There's a little delay, so we're still getting comments in the chat room about the last song. They're debating ripping people off. I'm not saying that they should. They're debating what constitutes a ripoff, I believe, in the chat room. For those of you who are watching the show after in the archive and wondering why I'm doing that, it's because I'm reading. Play them all again. Comments about copyright infringements. Great show. Thank you, Sherry. Great music, how can you go wrong with that? They're asking me to replay all of them, or could I replay my favorite? Saf says, how often do you get listings from that ad agency? It's not an ad agency. This is from a company where probably 90% of the music they pitch is for national TV spots. That's their specialty. That's who their contacts are with. And this is the first listing. This was the listing that I had to impress them with what we sent them, and they were duly impressed. Do I have any of the Jetsons forwards? No, I don't. Sorry. Robin Laguna says, Michael, I got a cool idea for the rally. Boy, I am getting so many emails from people saying, can I teach a class? I got a cool idea for a thing at the rally. It's almost done at this point. I had somebody amazing today ask me, sent an email, I think, over the weekend, and I got it sent to me this morning from somebody in the staff. Somebody amazing that wants to teach something, but then I'd have to bump somebody else out that's already locked in. It's tough. It is really, 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 really tough. Michael Mishna says, I'd like to hear some of the ones that were close but didn't get forwarded. We don't have a column of close but didn't get forwarded. It's either you got forwarded or you didn't, so I can't really go back and pull any of those. And typically I would do a forwards and returns show and have you guys vote to see how close you get with the screeners. But I was just digging so many of these anyway that I just thought I'd play them all. What about volume levels? I heard one or two in there where the levels could have been a little higher. Most of them were pretty much on par with each other as far as the volume levels, so that was good. Um, Mary Van says, what we all need is a program to take our composition and search online for others that are similar so we'd see if we'd accidentally rewritten someone else's song. That's a good idea. Um, Michael, Sherry Marcus says, Michael, when we get returns, we don't get to tweak what didn't work, even if it's close. Ever do an if only show? Frankly, I could do if only probably on every one of these forwards. And you know, there probably are a few times where there might be enough of a time window to tweak, but the problem is that most of the time, especially with TV placements and commercial placements, as you would know, Sherry, there's not a lot of time to tweak, especially when it's episodic TV that happens on a week cycle. Um, they don't, like a music supervisor wouldn't get back to me and say, I really like that piece. If only the lyric said this, or if only some other aspect of it was changed, then we would have to reach back out to the member, ask the member to change that thing, hope that the member changed it well enough or right enough to make the music supervisor happy, then got it back to us in time for the music supervisor to use it in the show. Those are a lot of things that have to fall into place, and everybody's probably watching this video going, oh, I could do that, but you'd be shocked how things fall apart. Things don't come together. I don't think it would happen well very often. Um, Kenny says, you turned mine up a tad on Feeling So Good. I did. I remember that. Lori Wynn says, I think it's obvious all the songs were great today. I love them all. Uh, Kenny says, still a good feeling to know that you got forwarded even if you don't get the gig. I mean, seriously, it's all really, really solid. Not just solid, but better than solid, really good. I had the owner of a very prominent music library that has done just a tiny little smattering of listings come up to me very recently and say, you know, we really need to work together more often. So I mean, the word is out. The bottom line is all the feedback that I'm getting from the industry has been incredibly positive. So it does still amaze me that there are people in the industry. There's one music supervisor in particular that every single chance this guy gets on a panel to badmouth Taxi, he will. He's never run a listing. He doesn't really understand, from the comments I've seen video of him on a panel, he doesn't even understand what we do, how we work. He doesn't understand that we offer a full year money back guarantee, that you'll love the service we provide. There's so many things I want to say to this guy. I've actually thought about, you know, getting the Taxi haters and inviting them on stage at the road rally to like debate them, because they can't win, because the information they put out there is just false. It's stuff that they make up in their own heads. I don't know where they hear this stuff, and then they espouse it like it's fact when it's not, and the opposite is really the truth. But then I thought, why do that on stage at the road rally? It's not really a positive thing. It's not really a forward-moving thing. And so much of the benefit of the rally is that it is positive and moves people forward. So I didn't want to taint our stage with the bad vibes. Peter Rahal says, getting a forward is like being on the, I like this, being on the forward is like being on the Olympic team, even if you don't get a medal. Good one, Peter. I like that. Um, all right. Spend 5 minutes in the forums. You'll see how positive Taxi is. That's true. Man, if you looked at the, if anybody has any deals they'd like to report, Marcus and Sherry have just been on fire lately, and thank you guys for reporting your deals. Several of you have, but man, oh man, I think Adriana just put something up recently, maybe Andy, but just a lot of deals getting reported lately, and we really appreciate that. Um, any other questions? Because I'm hungry. I could go have a snack. Um, hey, Michael, how about a live performance session in the hotel bar? Jimmy, what do you mean exactly by that? Live performance by whom? Because we do have open mics going on. Um, Dean Turner says he'd like to see a show comparing sounds that are dated with sounds that are not dated. I think we've done that. We might not have called the episode dated, but it's probably something about contemporary. But you know what? If you need somebody to point it out to you, then chances are the music you're making has dated sounds in it. Because if 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 you just can't hear the difference on your own, that's not good. You really need to listen. Force yourself, even if you don't like what's on radio. You got to force yourself to listen to it so that your ears are skewed towards contemporary. Um, Kenny says, try some other Taxi wannabe types and you'll see Taxi is legit. You know, I was on the phone with somebody the other day, somebody who I really consider a friend, somebody who I respect a great deal, somebody that's been around Taxi for a very long time, knows many, many, many of you. And this gentleman and I were talking about a company that purports to be in the same ballpark as Taxi. Um, and there have been issues brought up as to whether or not, when stuff gets forwarded by them or when people get a deal, there have been people that have gotten checks, but there is no licensing agreement signed. And I don't believe anybody, to the best of my knowledge, it's just what I know personally, none of the people I know that have gotten a check from this company have ever seen a licensing agreement, nor have they ever been told your music is in this commercial. You can go see it on YouTube by clicking this link. Or even, you know, it's in a Chevy truck commercial that they've been able to see on TV. So I could be wrong about that. Just my own personal knowledge, my own personal experience, and what I've been told from Taxi members who have gotten checks for around $1,000 or $1,500. There's never been any evidence that this stuff is real because they can't see where it's been used, but they got a check. So the member I was on the phone with said, yeah, you know, it pretty much looks like, what do they call that? Not a shell game. What did they call that? I can't think of it. It's named after somebody's name. Who was the famous guy on Wall Street that was ripping people off, you know, like $1 billion? There's the ceiling getting ready to come down on me. Ponzi scheme, thank you. So the Taxi member who I have great affection for, great respect for, you know, actually said, yeah, you know, there are a lot of people that think it might be a Ponzi scheme. But Bernie Madoff, yeah, the ultimate Ponzi. But this Taxi member who I have all this respect for said, yeah, but I still make the occasional submission. So even though he believes that it is a Ponzi scheme, he still makes submissions. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Anyway. Fonzie scheme from Happy Days. All right. Any more questions? I'm going to wait for like another minute. If I don't see any more questions pop up in the chat room, I'm going to call it a day. And I mean, it's not a rule that says we got to go a full 90 minutes on the show, right? Here's a question from Gloria Covington. Michael, how do licensing agreements work? Basically, the short version, I'm not an attorney, but the short version is it says, you grant us the right to use this piece of material, whether it's a song or instrumental, you know, for this episode, talking about episodic TV right now for this episode of this TV show. For X amount of time, it'll be 13 seconds or 37 seconds. Some agreement, and it will specify the amount of money that you're going to get. Sometimes they'll license something for the universe because technology has changed a lot. And a few years ago, 20 years ago, they would have said, for TV. Now it's got to include, it could show up very well, likely to show up on the internet. And they don't know what technology there will be in the future. So a lot of times they'll say, licensing it for use throughout the universe or something to that effect. What's up for next week? I think I told you guys I'm going, let me check my book. Next week I am going to Create Music Academy at Westlake Studios, and Doug Fensky, who's their director of education there, and just a really smart, cool guy. I like his style of teaching. He is going to do a show about mixing, and hopefully I'm just going to introduce him, chat for a couple minutes, and then move myself off camera and just let him do his thing. Let's see. Adriana says, I'm probably one of those people, if it's the same company you referred to, that got a check with no evidence of real placements. Deleted my account there and love Taxi all the more. LOL. Thanks, Adriana. Yeah, I'm really just shocked that they've gotten away with that, if that in fact is what they're doing. But I've just not met anybody that said, here, I have a link, showing that my thing was played somewhere, used somewhere. Mary Bant says, I'm looking closely at those Christmas and holiday listings. Man, this is the time. August and September are the months that we just get tons of those in. Could be for commercials, could be for shows that are in post that are going to be coming out, anytime between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Charles Wilson said, thanks, Michael. Hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you. See y'all later. Adios, Charles. Mr. Phoneman says, I noticed that your song placements, not syncs, usually ask for vocals. Do producer clients ever want just music and create lyrics? Yeah, we have listings. They'll probably be under the instrumental category. But yeah, especially now with a lot of the urban stuff that's out there, people just want tracks and they want to write. They literally just want chords and a beat, and they're going to write top line over that. So yeah, that stuff shows up. Absolutely it does. All right. So with that, I am going to, in fact, duck out. I'm starving. I'm going to go get something to eat. Thank you for watching. Congratulations to all the folks who submitted and got forwarded for taxi listing number U170904SC. You know what? Somebody said, Michael, what's your favorite? There were several of them that I thought were really good. Several of them. So don't let this make you think that this is just one that I remember thinking was super strong. So I'm going to play it one more time. This was called I Feel It by Robert Castillo. Don't know if it's my favorite, but I liked it. I wouldn't use this intro for a commercial. I'd start it with the drum turn that's coming up. Boom, right there. Love the sound of that Rhodes. how it's building and moving forward. Right, whirly, sorry. Anything electric, I call it a rose. Yeah, there aren't PRO specific listings. And when I say create, I'm not talking about create like the ASCAP version. It's making me want to listen to them all. I can. You can't. Anyway, you guys, thanks again. Congratulations to all who were forwarded. I will see you guys next week for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live, baby. Woo!